Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about Windows emulation on Android with not Win Now, but Winlator, and Winlator just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, Winlator version 5.0 is the latest update. They've improved performance, improved the task manager, they've added an option to change the desktop theme. They've improved X-input controller compatibility, especially with Batman Arkham City, Sleeping Dogs, and even more. They've fixed keyboard slowdown in GTA 5 and others. And there's other bug fixes and improvements. Winlator is 100% free, it's semi-open source, and I'll drop a link to it in the description below in the event that you wanted to check it out. Next up, we're talking about Game Boy emulation with BGB. For those who may be unaware, BGB stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano. And this is a Game Boy emulator designed to run on older systems. I mean, the developer says right here, while some other emulators are upping their system requirements and dropping 32 bits and older Windows support, I keep providing 32 and 64 bits versions, and I am committed to keeping BGB working on both old and current PCs for the foreseeable future. Currently still working on Windows 95B and Pentium 1. I also care about supporting Wine, and wouldn't you know, BGB just got a brand new update, and this update is actually pretty big. They've added a rewind key, they've added support for loading and saving PNG images, they've added Game Boy camera emulation, they've improved Game Boy color options, and rapid A and B speed is now configurable, along with a whole bunch more. And speaking about Game Boy, and Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, next up we're talking about a brand new ROM dumper called Inazuma Replay, and it's just launched. If you are curious about this one, I'll drop a link to it in the description below and feel free to check it out. It's currently priced about $45 US. Now I will point out that this product is not the first of its kind on the market. I mean, we've got stuff like the GB operator and even more. Next up, we're talking about Capcom, and 2024 seems to be the year of very interesting choices by this company. It appears they have just delisted Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition from Steam. It's worth noting that Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition is still available. And you can pick up Devil May Cry 3 if you pick up the DMC HD collection. Now, just like the recent reviews on Steam, there appear to be a lot of mixed reactions about this news. Some people are saying that the Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition is the better version. It's got better graphics and they got rid of the obsolete version. And some people are saying that the original Devil May Cry PC port is the far superior version. This may be a controversial opinion, but I believe that Capcom got rid of the wrong game. I believe that Devil May Cry 4 ran a lot better than the Special Edition. I thought this one was far more optimized for PC. It didn't look as great, but you could always mod it. Either way, if you've got a recently new PC, I'd say there's nothing overly wrong with the Special Edition, and it's got a ton of mods as well. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about Apple, and it appears that Apple continues to make moves that are very unpopular with a whole bunch of people. Recently, they had to open up the iPhone to third-party app stores, and they've added a fee structure here that people are not happy with. I'll drop a link to this article in the description below, and feel free to check it out. It appears that Apple is trying to make quite a bit of money from apps that are installed not from the App Store. For example here, if I'm reading this correctly, after 1 million downloads of an app, Apple is going to charge a €0.5 fee. And that includes re-downloads, reinstalls, updates, and all of that. So for example, if an app was downloaded 2 million times, Apple is going to charge about €500,000. Apple has been criticized left, right, and center about this one, and it makes me happy that I've got an Android and don't have to deal with this nonsense. Next up, we're talking about Xbox physical games, and the writing appears to be on the wall. We talked about this one kind of the other week when it appeared that some US Walmarts were delisting or getting rid of physical versions of Starfield. And now Xbox games are reportedly no longer being stocked at some EU retailers. Honestly, I'm not really surprised about this one. In a major cost-cutting year, they're saving money on manufacturing and distribution costs. Plus, with the leaked all-digital Xbox Series X, it kind of adds up. Next up, we're switching from Xbox to PlayStation, and this rumor is probably going to spread like wildfire. It says a new PlayStation handheld powered by AMD is in early development. It's going to have compatibility with PS4 and PS5 titles. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this rumor has started because of this video here. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. And I don't want to be skeptical, but at the same time here, I'm going to believe it when I see it, or at least find out more information. I mean, at this point in time, it's probably years away from actual release. And playing PS4 and PS5 games on a handheld device would be amazing. A PS Vita 2 would be amazing. But in my opinion here, it's nowhere near release, if it ever releases. Next up, this is a quick one. If you've got one of those neat little Flipper Zero devices, there's a brand new Game Boy tool that plugs into it. It's compatible with a whole bunch of Game Boy peripherals, including the Game Boy camera and even more. It's called the Malvecchi. I might have mispronounced that one. It's about $90 and the software is on GitHub. And for those who may not be aware, the Flipper Zero is a multi-tool device used for stuff like pen testing and ethical hacking. This thing is open source as well, and it costs about $170. Next up, we're talking about a couple of Kickstarters. The first one here is called Bestiario. It's a turn-based RPG with social sim elements. If you take a look at the funding, this game has already met its target and it's still got 30 days to go. The game is eventually going to be released for PC, Switch, PlayStation, and Xbox, and the pricing starts around $17 USD and works its way up from there. And the second Kickstarter game is called Dreamed Away. They say it's a cute pixel art RPG with a dark story, and it's an action-adventure RPG. And if you take a look at the video, it gives me very similar vibes to something like Undertale. This one is just under halfway to its funding goal, and it's still got a whopping 27 days left to go. The pricing for Dreamed Away starts at about the exact same as Bestiario. However, this one does have a demo on Steam. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. And speaking about RPGs, next up we're talking about Linda Cubed again on the PlayStation. This game was released back in, I think, 1997. And there's a brand new English translation over on romhacking.net. On top of that, they say the FMV's audio-only segments are entirely soft-subbed. I'll drop a link to this one in the description below in the event that you wanted to check it out. And last up here, we're talking about EmuDECK. And if you're not familiar with EmuDECK, it gained a ton of popularity on devices like the Steam Deck. It tries to be a one-stop shop for everything emulation. It's great for people who are not familiar with emulators. It's great for people who are lazy. And it's great for people who just favor convenience. EmuDECK is currently available for Linux and Windows, and we talked about their major announcement the other day when they said they were headed to Android. Now, in that announcement, they said they weren't going to have an app right out of the gate, and you will need a PC. One of my concerns here was that the setup was going to be a little bit clunky. Well, EmuDECK directly responded to me with a video that may prove the opposite. This appears to be very simple and straightforward, provided you've got a PC connected to your Android device. And for emulation on Android, this may make things a lot easier for people who are looking for a one-stop shop to install emulators, and possibly have them optimized right out of the gate. Their latest announcement says to expect a beta in the next couple of weeks, and I am closely paying attention to this. If this turns out well, it's probably not going to be perfect right from the get-go, but if it turns out well, it may change the landscape for emulation on Android. A lot of people may be flocking to a solution like this. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.